Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on Disney Plus, and welcome to this week's live Q&A. So big hello and welcome to everyone watching, either if you're watching live or if you're watching it after we've done the video. So each and every week I answer questions from my YouTube channel members and patrons. You can become a member from as little as $2 a month, all of which help support the channel and the podcast and the website. You can also send in super chats, which all help support the channel even more. So you can send in your questions that way. Miles has already done so, and his will be the second question I deal with. Normally I will deal with them straight away, but I kind of want to jump in to the lead question of this episode. So each and every week, as I said, I answer questions. I'll be jumping in between some of the pre-done questions and also the live questions, which are coming in through super chats, but also in the live chat. See already a few people already in there. We've got Babak, we've got Bubba Trollid, we've got Caleb, we've got Matt, we've got Miles. So big hello to all of you. So a couple of bits of housekeeping before I go any further. Again, if you haven't already done so, make sure you go over at some point and visit whatsondisneyplus.com, bookmark it, favorite, follow us on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and more importantly, hit that subscribe button here on YouTube to keep up with the latest videos. So I release a video each day during the week, and I'll see a live stream on Sundays. So also just a quick other bits of housekeeping. YouTube channel members and patrons, you have got a brand new members only review of In the Blink of an Eye. That one's gone up for you in the last hour. I've just recorded the next two, so you've got Ellen McKay next week and the week after the Beauty. So I'm trying to get these, sort of get them done so that you've got one every single week. That's kind of my goal, and that's what I've set, and that's what I'm trying to do. So if I can get a little bit ahead of myself, and also the fact of I've just watched both of Ellen McKay this afternoon, and I just wanted to talk about the Beauty because that was so good. But nevertheless, so as I said, lots of questions coming in. So the question, let's jump into it, was also, just another bit of housekeeping. Time. If you're watching live in your United States and maybe Canada, your time looks to be like an hour later because you guys have jumped to springtime much earlier than we in the UK. We won't be changing until the end of March. So this causes for a few weeks that I'm on time, but you guys are, well, you guys are on time and I'm on time, but we're an hour apart. So I'm going to be at my normal time. So just be aware of that, and then once my clocks change, then I'll catch up. It's really great for watching wrestling when you're trying to watch it live because it's a little bit earlier. It also means all the press releases and stuff come out a nice hour earlier, which is great for me. But yeah, so we've got about a few weeks of this. For some reason, America and the UK have different time changes for the spring. Okay, so let's start off with a question here. So that was not the one, that's one for later. Mamout asks, why don't the opinion of analysts that Disney Plus and Hulu need more originals to gain subscribers than consistently offer limited time deals? So this is in relationship to what I put out as the main question, which is, should Disney Plus add more originals? I saw a few analysts, I think Rich Lightshed, he talked about this, about how Disney needs and other streaming services need to invest in more content. And content is king, and content is the only way that they are going to compete with Netflix, and they all need to invest in more content. And I was a bit like, this guy quite often changes his mind depending on which way the stock market's going. And on one hand, I do get what he's saying, but I also have a little bit of a couple of counterpoints to that. So let's start off with the fun stuff of, does Disney Plus need more originals? Yes, I do think it could do with some more releases. I was looking, I think Netflix gets about 10 to 15 originals per week, and Disney Plus definitely isn't getting that. I think we do need more. I think we need better originals. And so therefore there's a kind of catch-22 of, we've lived through the Disney Plus original era where we were getting loads of stuff coming week after week after week, most of which was not very good. It overflooded with just meh, and we saw the brands of Marvel and Star Wars decline. We saw Pixar struggle because they just couldn't keep up with the pace. And generally, we also saw a load of content that ended up getting removed from Disney Plus because it just wasn't good enough. And I think having too much content that's not very good is not a good thing. And I do agree that Disney's idea of scaling it back, trying to save money, but also more importantly, is it better to put out 5 really good things than 15 average things? So I do get the idea that I do think Disney Plus needs a bit more. We're in this weird, awkward stage. And I think this is, again, the big problem for Disney at the moment is we're in this awkward stage where Disney Plus and Hulu haven't fully merged yet in the United States. And until they do so, we're still at this point where everything is getting separated. We've still got the Hulu logo being slapped on stuff. They've started doing it here as well. And there is a lot of content dropping onto Disney Plus. However, it's all being like pigeoned off in different sections because of the way that linear works and the way that ESPN and Hulu and Disney and ABC and everything's all a little bit muddled. And I think this is where I do disagree with the idea that Disney's not putting out enough, because I think they are. But again, it looks very messy, maybe more so in the United States. It's all over the place. Here in the UK, we get it all just comes through Disney Plus. So it's a lot simpler for us. You know, you jump in there and you do see new shows dropping all the time. There's new weekly shows. You know, we're getting Grey's Anatomy, we're getting 911, we get the release schedule globally is very messy. Every country's working on a different thing. We are seeing constantly new things being added. There's new documentaries, there's new films, there's new shows. Now, is it on par with Netflix? No. And I do think they should be doing more. I personally do not agree with the idea of how much they're spending on sports licensing. That's for US only. And it's a bit like, you guys are wasting, in my view, millions and millions of dollars on sports for stuff that you don't own. Is it really working? You know, do they need lacrosse? Do they need like college baseball and all this kind of stuff? Does it pull in enough audience to make it worthwhile? If it is, great. But as a non-sporty person, it can't look at it. I do kind of look at it. There's a lot of money being spent on something that you don't own, that you could make a lot of shows with. I do think they need to up their ante in terms of, I think Disney Plus originals have really dropped off. We just hardly are getting any. That doesn't necessarily mean I just want Marvel and Star Wars. I'm quite happy with having one Marvel or one Star Wars project a year, as long as they're really good. I just want more. I want a little bit more variety. You know, we can have an Aragon and a Percy Jackson, and maybe we have, a few more Disney channels or some cartoons. I think personally, the Hulu side is the stuff that I enjoy watching. The shows that the Hulu side put out is, for me, what that makes Disney Plus worth it. If it was, again, it's just in the United States, if it was just the Disney Plus side of things coming in, I can see why people drop it, because there's not enough stuff coming through at the minute. When it's combined and you have the bundle, it does feel much more valuable. I do think Disney Plus needs more originals. Looking at your votes, 89% of you said yes. Again, but when you look at it and go, well, if you counted every ESPN show as a original, if you count all the linear shows like Grey's Anatomy, The Simpsons, Family Guy, suddenly now, and then you've got all the Hulu side and ABC News, suddenly now there is a lot of stuff coming onto the platform. But again, I think it's just the way that Disney use their branding, whereas Netflix, everything just gets slapped with the N logo on it. Yeah, so let's jump in and just see what you guys think. So I'm just going to keep on this topic just for the time being. And Miles says, regarding the idea of originals, they have to be carefully curated and treated like HBO, where it's prestige television. FX series is the Mouse's equivalent of HBO. Totally agree with you. And from FX's point of view, I think they are knocking it out the park. I think they're doing really well. But they do need to have stuff that goes for everyone. And I think Disney is much better at that, but we are getting a lot less. I think we're seeing the Hulu linear side is kind of doing all the heavy lifting. And they have realized, essentially, Marvel, Star Wars, and Pixar aren't television studios. They can't churn out television at the rate they were. So I'm just going to have a look to see anything else just regarding this particular question. Kelly says, to answer the question, I'd like more Disney Plus originals, but it has to be carefully curated, must be treated like HBO. So far, Hulu is doing it. Yeah. Let's just see. Babak says, I think original content doesn't matter anymore because most people watch one episode one at a time and they don't care about what platform the viewer watches it on. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Again, I think we're in that like weird zone where, you know, if you're watching Grey's Anatomy on Hulu on Disney Plus in the United States, you're still on Disney Plus. It's still an original show that's been created by Disney that's on their platform. It's just the fact that it doesn't get classed as an original because it also airs on linear, and it originally aired on linear. Same thing, The Simpsons or Family Guy don't count as originals, but they are owned and operated and is original content. It's just we're in this weird bit where it's like classifications, and I think it's a bit nitpicky sometimes of where it comes in. You know, let's look at like movies. So Netflix puts a load of movies on there. If they're original there, that's fine, but Disney do that. They don't put out as many, but the question is something like Zootopia 2 worth the equivalent of 5 or 10 of those like just random Netflix movies? Matt says, I think Disney Plus new originals, they have new ideas and stories rather than just sequels. We definitely could do with some more. Basil says Disney does not necessarily need more original content, but they should add more legacy content and content from 20th century studios. I think the concept of adding stuff to legacy content is a whole separate issue that I do agree with. I think they should be adding it all the time. It should be something that they should have a team constantly going through and just backfilling. I mean, it just makes sense. If you've got some movies and shows there, why not use them? Compete with Netflix and Amazon, etc., doing it that way. I think, with a combination of Warner Brothers and Paramount, they are going to need to use that content to compete. Knoxway says, I think that Disney should some Disney Channel content that never got released on Disney Plus since it got launched. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that should have probably been. Babak says there's too much content as it is. I'd rather have less content but put more money and seasons behind current content quality versus quantity. Yes and no. I definitely think that it's important that you get both, but also you need some variety. You need a choice. I do think that Disney at the minute is kind of but I think this is the case across all the streaming platforms. We're really getting a lot less across all of them. I think there's some shows that on most of my streaming platforms we're watching a couple of shows at any one point. So if I'm on Apple TV, so we've just finished off Hijack, which was okay. Season 2 wasn't as good as season 1, but Monarch now is my lead one. Monarch is fantastic. I'm loving it. It's a Godzilla show. Great. I've just got Now TV this week, which is basically Sky/Peacock/HBO. So we've just started, churning through some of those shows on there, seeing what's on there, because got a really cheap deal, a couple of quid a month for a year. But also, I just started a new HBO show and I didn't really think much of it, but other stuff isn't. Exactly. I think we're all on that one. Okay. Right, let's jump back into the question. So I'm going to jump back. I'm going to grab Miles's super chat. Regarding hoppers, seeing that Tom Lizard bundle is now available in Fortnite, could Epic Games potentially add the Save the Day as a jam track? I would imagine it's very likely to. I'd imagine that would make sense for them to do so. Maybe they do it. Maybe there's another bundle coming down the line. I mean, I'm glad that they've actually got this Hoppers tie-in when the movie comes out. So often things are so late. So I'm really glad that they're jumping in on this and making the most of it. But also I didn't bother going and seeing Hoppers this weekend. I want to see it, but I'll probably just wait till it comes out on Disney Plus. I just didn't really feel in the mood to go watch it. I think that's probably the problem right now. But yeah, I do think they'll add it eventually. Depends how well it does, I suppose. Keenan says, when do you think Disney Plus will move more the content that is not on Hulu on Disney Plus, like Fargo, to Disney Plus? I think in the US it's gonna, when they finally when it all fully merges in. But even by the sounds of it, they are going to be separated when they go in. There's still going to be a upcharge if you want the Hulu side. They aren't really happy just yet to fully. I think they will do, but they might leave it 6 months or so and kind of get. The only thing is, I think they've got a little bit stuck on this concept of the bundle is where they're not losing subscribers. And it's like, you're not losing the bundle isn't necessarily meaning people stay around. It's just the fact that that's the combined offering. And if you've got them together, I don't really get if you've got one app with all the content in there and it's $9.99 for one or $10.99 for two, it ain't rocket science to see why they're going for the $10.99 one. Because it's like, well, there's a buck there. There's a lot of stuff that, I mean, I would look at it now, actually. Well, I'd be paying $9.99 for Hulu and $1 a month for Disney Plus. I'd be like, well, I'll keep my subscription. Keenan says, when do you think Disney... Well, we did... Oh, I've done that on twice. Never mind. Keenan says, why can't Disney do bundles for yearly subscriptions? It is odd that they do this. They don't seem to want to offer a yearly subscription for the ad-supported. I do wonder if that is because of them trying to work out what they're doing with the Hulu subscription, of what they're doing there. That maybe they'll do it more when that kicks in. I'm surprised they don't do more yearly offers and like do an offer. I mean, I got signed up to a year contract with Now TV this week, $2.99 a month for a year. Now, had it been 35 quid for a year, I probably would have just paid it because that's what Peacock's done in the past. I'm guessing they want you to try and stay on it and then forget that you're paying it. Who knows? I mean, I did view it with the fact that HBO Max is going to be added to it in a couple of weeks. Was like, okay, that'll give a chance to it. But I don't know why they don't do it. But I do wonder if it's maybe to do with the Hulu integration. Bubek says the release dates for Hoppers and Toy Story 5 are only 105 days apart. Do you think it's a bad idea for Pixar to have two movies that close together? Not really, because they're almost two completely different seasons. Hoppers is now the Easter spring animated film for families. You're going to have a lot of kids off for the Easter holidays and spring break and all that kind of stuff. So that's where that's going to make the majority. It's going to make the majority of its money over the next coming weeks anyway. By the time the film gets to May, June, it will have ran out of juice anyway. So I don't think that's necessarily a problem. And Toy Story is going after the summer market, and that'll then have June and July, kids' holidays, etc. for the summer. So they're two completely different markets. They're far enough apart. I do think what we'll probably see is it does mean I think we won't see Hoppers dropping onto Disney Plus until about 2 to 3 weeks after Toy Story 5 comes out. I think they're going to hold on to it a little bit longer. Because what they won't want you doing is people going, oh, I can just watch Hoppers on Disney Plus and I won't bother. I'll wait for Disney and Toy Story. They'll wait. They'll hold off a bit. Ricardo says, with the release of Sky of Disney Plus Cinema, will that be the name to replace the Star channels around the world? No, because the Cinema brand is kind of a Sky brand, or it's called Sky Cinema, and a lot of the channels are called that, so it's more of a branding from Sky's point of view. So, and again, I'll be honest, I don't know why Disney probably should not bother trying to replace the branding for Star. I don't know. It just feel a bit like, how many times are you going to kind of keep trying to rebrand it? It just feels a little bit like, is it really necessary? Keenan says there's going to be a third Monsters Inc. movie by Pixar. Any guess of what it could be? I'm guessing it's going to be set years after the last film, because obviously we had the whole TV series. I don't know. Maybe they're having to deal with green energy and the owners don't like it. I don't know. Or there's a competitor or something's going on. People, maybe kids aren't as, I mean, it was supposed to be, was it? Laughter was maybe the kids just aren't find things as funny. But that might be where they go. Keenan also asked, when HBO Max and Paramount Plus combine into one streaming service, what are they going to do with the live streaming channels and all the content that they have right now? Again, it's all gonna. That's what you want. They are looking at. They're gonna merge this stuff together. Should it get for authorization to go through? Because they need scale to go up against Disney and Amazon and Netflix. They have to come together to offer it. And whether or not they get live streaming channels, it depends on what they want to do, of how their linear business is going. They might chuck it in to be that next streaming service that everybody wants, and they view that that's the way of doing it. Who knows? Depends what their but they're going to have a lot of debt to sell off. So who knows what they'll be doing. Kaylee says, what are you, according to reports, they're developing, what are your takeaways? I'm going to do a video on this tomorrow, but generally, it just makes sense. It just makes sense for them to do it. And Miles asked a very similar question about your opinion on what was mentioned. Monsters, Inc. makes sense. The only ghost market and a musical. They need to do originals. They still need to do original stuff coming in. But yeah, I think it makes sense. And I mean, as far as like Oni Ghost Market, I have no idea what that is, or Uno Ghost Market, whatever that. But I want them to do originals. We need them to do it. And I think having one original, one sequel, one original, one sequel, if that's the system that they have to use, I'm fine with it. Because if that sequel means then that the original can get created and they can take that risk, great. Because what I don't want happening is then they do original. They don't work. And then we don't get them because then they start losing money. So I'd rather, if we have to have the sequels for the originals to exist, but let's be honest, the originals are going to be good anyway. Miles says, what are your thoughts on the new films hinted by Pixar picks Doctor during an BAFTA interview? Again, I think it's a good idea. I think that's very similar to the last question. Let's see what we've got in the live chat. Let's see what we've got going on. Miles says, when will the new Sky Disney joint venture channel launch in March? I don't remember. Was it the 27th? Something like that, I think it was. I'm just going to go to the top, make sure I've not missed any questions. Babak went to see Hoppers, and I thought it was a decent film, but it felt like a cartoon Avatar. Well, I mean, they even toy. I was listening on the radio. The advert came on and go, it sounds like Avatar, because it's not Avatar. But yeah, so I think that's good. Babak says, I think also Disney Plus should shorts for upcoming movies to help boost people going to the cinema. If people are familiar with the characters, they might be more inclined to go. Maybe. I mean, they can do. I think they could just run the advert in front of the show. That's all they kind of need to do. Ken says, I was thinking of seeing it next weekend, but didn't see it this weekend due to other things going on. I mean, it looks like it's done very well. And I think word of mouth is good. And this is exactly what they need. A strong opening, a strong word of mouth is going to be much better for Hoppers over the next couple of weeks, especially like with Easter coming up, etc. That's what they need. Families going and enjoying it. And that's what they want. And also families feeling like they can go and watch it because it's, there's no negative stuff coming around it. Let's see what else we've got. Babak says, do you think that most people care what's on Disney Plus in other countries? A little bit and not. I mean, there's always that kind of interest, I think, from diehard fans. A lot of it, I think, is not necessarily do they care. I think sometimes people get a little bit jealous and angry that something isn't on there that they have somewhere else. There are like sometimes you get like Hulu originals that we don't get globally. I think it's more about the fact that, especially in this world of social media, it's a much more tricky thing with marketing because they put out a trailer that's got the word it's on Hulu, on Disney Plus, whatever it is, and well, everyone around the world sees it. And so therefore, well, if we see that, why wouldn't we assume that that's equivalent to us as well? If we can watch it, then, because Fox, for example, is a lot more interesting because a lot of their TV show trailers, for me, for example, are blocked. So I can't see them. Because they're not, we don't have the Fox channel, and we don't have, it's not that we don't have the deal in place. So I think that makes sense really from the point of view sometimes of doing that, of hiding stuff if we can't see it, but it's very difficult on social media. And this is why it's a lot easier now with that Hulu branding now being global. It's a lot easier for them that when that movie comes out, they can just be like, it's on Hulu on Disney Plus, and they're applying that a lot in the Canadian side really is kind of leaning in on Hulu on Disney Plus. It's like, okay. Again, it's just getting everyone on the same page. Lubbock says, I do find it interesting that you can't sign up for Hulu Live with the Disney bundle. To sign up, you have to sign up for the bundle for Hulu. Again, I think that is because Hulu Live is going to go bye-bye. Bye-bye. So that's why. Babak says, do you think Disney needs to bring in its animated shows Family Guy, Simpsons to ABC once the deal with Fox ends? I would hope so. I mean, if I was Disney, I mean, I suppose the other thing is Fox is paying them for it. So it's probably a bit like, yeah, they're paying for it and we get it afterwards. Yes, fine. Yeah, carry on. You keep paying for it. But then there again, Disney might turn around and go, actually, we could do with these shows long term. Matt says, how can Disney do better on the Disney side of streaming things like they're doing really good on their side? I do think they've when they are fully, and I've been saying this for years, when they are fully combined and when they are fully focused, that's when things are going to get better. We had the whole ESPN on Disney Plus launch. Now we're just going to get this Hulu stuff over with, and then we can finally see what they're doing. Matt says, do you think they'll do any more fantasy Western shows? I'd like them to. I definitely like them. I definitely like them when they mix the two. I did watch the first season of Fallout, and I don't know, would you cast that as a fantasy Western show? It felt a bit like it. Yeah, I think they need to have a bit more variety. I think the trouble is, in general, is television gets a bit samey. There's a big hit or something breaks out or the interest is something, and these studios they'll just keep churning out the same thing over and over and that's what killed the Western genre, and it's basically caused a problem for superheroes because they just overdid it. Knoxwell says, I like to go see Hoppers, but the problem is where I live, so many kids were making so much noise. Maybe I'll wait until it drops on Disney Plus. Again, I 100% agree with you. I would not go and see it in the kids' holidays. I wouldn't go see it if I can't see it on a weekday when they're all at school, I wouldn't go to. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to go. I remember, and I still remember this. I went to a family press screening for Lightyear in London, and it was kind of tail end of the pandemic, and it was like this massive screening in London. I'd never been to a family screening before, and it was crazy because all the celebrities were bringing all their families, all the staff were bringing their family, and I hadn't been the cinema was packed, and there was 800-900 people because it's a massive cinema, and it was so noisy. And I think, yeah, it was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And it was like, this is like, I got used to not watching movies with that many people. And it was like, I don't like this. That was a little bit, yeah, it was very distracting. And that is, again, the big thing with going cinema of why people don't go is people don't like people. Did that one. Miles says, what's your take on Pixar doing a musical for the first time with turning rate Stormy Shi as director? Why not? Give it a whirl. Let them have a bash at it. Disney's musicals are amazing, so why not let Pixar jump in on that? Matt says, when do you think we'll get the first trailer for Spider-Man? I think it's going to be pretty soon. I think it'll be this month. Knoxwell says, what do you think of The Bear officially ending with season 5? Good. As someone that didn't even start season 4, and I loved that show when that came out. That show just... And the other thing as well is I think all the actors, they've all jumped on. They've all moved on to other things. And I don't know. For me, the show lost its heart. That first season where, it was all like a bunch of guys putting together their, sandwich shop and turning it into a restaurant. It's like I could totally relate. I was, I'd run a cafe with my family. It felt like it had heart. And then it came a snooty restaurant. And I just didn't. And they're trying to be, and it was just like, it didn't click the same, the heart of and then it all got a bit fancy of them like doing all this. And it wasn't as it just wasn't what the show was. It lost its heart. It got so far away from what was enjoyable about it. It just wasn't, it was then just watching, I might as well just watch MasterChef. That says, what is all an international shows land on Disney Plus around the world? Not too sure what you meant by that. So I think we are seeing a lot more of the originals. So you are going to see more originals. And this is because of the way the governments are going up around the world. So many countries now are introducing a kind of a quota system. We're kind of moving a little bit away from the idea of having a numbered quota where they turn and go like, we want, I think the European system going, well, we want 30% of the content on the streaming platform to be made in Europe. That system doesn't work. It's too expensive. It's unreasonable. It doesn't work. I suspect that deal will change. What I think is better is what seems to be happening in Australia and everywhere, where what we're seeing now is they go, right, okay, so if you have so many people, you have to invest X amount of percentage of the money you make in that country, because that I think is a very fair deal. Because then if you've got lots, you're only talking about the money that's being made in that country. So it doesn't matter about the subscribers anywhere else. So they can then invest that money differently. For example, Disney. So say they get we have to spend £10 million this year on original content. I'd rather they spent 5 million each on 2 really, 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 really good shows, like Rivals and Say Nothing, then be forced to create 10 shows for the same amount of money that are bad. So I'd rather they have a little bit of freedom. And because of that, what you're going to start seeing is you are going to see more originals coming from countries, because they're going to have to make it. So therefore, it makes sense for them to release it globally. If they're going to make it and spend money on it, use it. Some shows also do well. Korean shows do very well globally. Japanese anime does very well globally. I'd also say generally British and Australian shows have the advantage of being able to be kind of enjoyed by the global population the same way. So those are benefits for that. But yeah, I think we're going to see more of it. Kayla says, I like that Disney is improvising what is a Hulu original. I remember seeing ads on Jala Hotstar for Paradise saying Hulu original. It'd be nice if they introduced a Hulu ad there. Yeah, they definitely just seem to be trying to do something with that Hulu. When do you think that Disney will add playlists for Hulu content? Eventually, I think they will do. But again, we've got to get the merger in. Matt says, what do you think of the new Punisher special coming out this year? Good. I'm wondering whether or not that's going to come out before Spider-Man No Way Home. Not No Way Home, no, Brand New Day, whatever it's called. Or is it going to come out 6 months later? Don't know. Basil said the Bears season coming in, they should bring an end to and only murders in the building as well. Again, I agree with you. I didn't watch the last season. It got to that point of how many murders can these guys deal with? I totally forgot about the last season. Didn't bother. I really enjoyed the first couple of seasons. I thought it was great, and it just kind of got a bit been there, done that. And again, when you've got less time, if you've got less time to watch TV, some shows as well, if my wife doesn't enjoy them, sometimes I just don't get around to watching them. And yeah, it was just one of those shows of I've kind of done this. We've done 3 seasons. Is there going to be anything in here? And good, a cameo. Well, you've done. I do think the show needs to come to an end. I also would like it to end with all 3 of them actually still being able to be there, because let's not kid ourselves. Steve Martin and Martin Short, they're in their 80s. We need to take that into consideration. Okay, so some shows do have a limited shelf life. I know Good Place was season 4, since the creators felt like they didn't want to overcook it. I do think shows do have shelf lives, and they need to be aware. I'm really liking the talk with Paradise, where it's it's a 3-season story, and I think Paradise will end at 3 seasons. I think that is probably. I'd rather a show have a good middle L and be solid than just keep churning through. Babak says the key is to watch kids' movies late at night when they're asleep. Maybe, but I don't want to go to the cinema at 9 o'clock at night. It's I don't really want to do that. You get to a certain age, it's like I'd rather. I know this is I go to the cinema at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't go to the cinema at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. When was the last time? I think the last time I went to a night showing, I think was Solo, and that was because I was in Walt Disney World. I don't go to cinema at night. I always go first thing in the morning. Bubak says, I agree about the bear. It's better when it's a family mom and pop shop instead of the fancy place. Kelly said, that's why I hope School Spirits and Paramount gets a season 4. It'll be the last one since the cast of actors will portray students as well as Milo being entangled. That is definitely the problem, I think, like, of them not being able to turn them around quick enough. You know, you look at like Stranger Things, they were all so old by the time that season came around. Barbara Trolling says, do you think that Paramount will do tax write-offs for the deal? Maybe. They might do. But I also think they've worked out that that's not, maybe. They do seem to have, and I don't know about you, but it does feel like, though, that whole thing that they did, they've all stopped doing it. They've all kind of realized that that wasn't really working. It almost felt like, actually, this isn't, just writing this content off doesn't work. It's almost like the thing of going, you know what's better? Let's just sell it to somebody else. Matt says, do you think shows get pulled too soon? Yeah, that's always going to be the case. Some shows get pulled too soon. Some shows don't get pulled soon enough. Let's keep going here. Mama says, what do you think of Sony rebooting the Spider-Man universe? And you think they will make the same mistakes or work more with Marvel Studios? So yeah, I think there was reports of the fact that they are going to reboot the Spider-Verse, which kind of feels they obviously they know they've got something good, and they know that they've got to do something better than what they did before. What they were doing before didn't work. They need a Spider-Man. Now, whether or not they do, I think for me, whether or not they did Miles Morales as a Spider-Man might stand a better chance, and then they make that as its own separate universe. The problem is, I think, is that with Doomsday and Secret Wars ending the multiverse, personally, I think Sony should just go, look, let's go talk to Marvel. We co-produced a movie every year or every 2 years, and we use Spider-Man because the audience wants a Spider-Man. I think Spider-Noir will be probably do good at the gate, and then it will drop off like a fly because the audience will be like, who is this Spider-Man? This is not Spider-Man. But yeah, let me know what you think. Do you think it's? I think they're going to end up working with Marvel because again, they can't keep churning stuff out. The multiverse stuff doesn't work with the audience. It's too complicated for the general audience. Kelly says, how do you feel about Apple TV being an add-on for Roku channel? I think it's good from the point of view of getting Apple TV onto more platforms than just Apple TV, because there are some fantastic shows there. And I think also it does feel like Apple was maybe realizing that maybe their devices aren't enough. And because the TV boxes, I have an Apple TV, and I think it's a great little box for watching TV shows on. It's fast, it's reliable, it's so much better than the built-in television system that I've got on my smart TV. It's a lot better than Fire, it's a lot better than Roku, because I've and even easier than the PlayStation, etc. And if Apple brought out a new TV box tomorrow, I would buy it, because I'm like, well, I have had this one like 4 or 5 years. I could do an upgrade. Also, the remote's a bit funny. I think the Apple TV infrastructure is great, but most people are quite happy just having the stuff that's built into their televisions. And I think the whole idea of having that little dongle is disappearing with every time someone's television breaks. What do you go and do? You go and buy a new television, and it comes with all the software. So I think the idea of all these little dongles and stuff going in, and Fire Sticks and stuff in the next 5 years, they are going to move away from that. Thank you very much, Derek, for your super chat. Really appreciate your continued support. Really appreciate this. So your question was, it's early, but can we assume that Paramount will start with a bundle with Paramount Plus, Bet Plus, HBO Max, and Discovery while they sort out the merger? They might do, but I don't know whether or not they'd be allowed to. It might be deemed that that, because I remember like with Disney when they were trying to buy 20th, it's like they weren't allowed to like talk what they were going to do. I mean, it kind of seems silly. I mean, I always look at it of going, let's say, for example, it's like buying a house or buying a car. I think more so buying a house, where you put in a bid, you accept the bid, and then it has to go through all the legal stuff, and then you finally get the keys and you sign everything over. It all happens really quickly, and then you've got a new house. And I don't see I don't see it as any difference of the new owners saying, "Excuse me, could we come in and have an appointment to come and look around the house because we want to measure up for carpets and curtains and maybe get an idea of what we want to do with them." That's how I look at it. I mean, it would make sense that there are some kind of talks going on beforehand. But again, I don't know whether or not they'll do a bundle, but it would make sense for Paramount Plus and HBO Max and Discovery to maybe do it, but then they're going to set the price then of what to expect. But yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. But again, thank you so much for your continued support, Derek. Thank you so much for your super chat. Miles says, I really enjoyed seeing Hoppers, particularly in stereophonic 3D, and thought it was fantastic. Cool. Kayla says, speaking of dongles, I was watching the Q&A using a Roku Premier device. I like Roku since it's an affordable device. That's where it's easy to understand. Good. I don't think Roku doesn't seem to be as popular here in the UK, I don't think. Fire kind of was the big one, really, I think. I zoomed in. There we go. Yeah, I think Roku was it seems like it's a much more of an American thing. I did have a Roku device. It wasn't great. And I think again, the only reason I got Apple TV was because I needed it for a screening app for watching early previews. I was like, okay, well, I got to buy it. And then once I had it, it was like, oh, this is so much better than anything else. I wouldn't have got it probably anything otherwise. Bobatronic says, do you think Disney will pay off their debts? They pay them off slowly, bits and pieces. They've got I think they just took out another $5 billion worth of credit. They just need to make sure they've got enough in the bank. They are paying stuff off. I think the whole thing now of 20th century, but they're going to be spending a lot of money on the parks. Okay, carrying on with the questions. Babatrolling says, do you think Hoppers will come to Disney Plus a week after the release of Toy Story 5? No, I think probably a month. Matt says, I'd like to see Disney bring back some classic 20th century early movies and shows to do Disney Plus. I'd love it. Some black and white stuff, some stuff from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. Really kind of use that content. Make the most of it. Again, whether or not they're just waiting for the Hulu side to get sorted, I keep saying that. I'm in the hope that they do it. But the big problem is it going to be watched? Is it worth it? Do they think it's worthwhile? Personally, I think with Amazon getting MGM, Paramount, and like utilize that content, put it out there, put those movies on there, slap a disclaimer on it, going, these were made in a different time, that kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely think they should. Miles with a 94% RT score and an A cinema score and an A 88 million global box office debut. Pixar's best for originals since Coco. What do you think of the massive success of Hoppers? I'm loving it. I think this is great. Pixar needs some wins. And Hoppers being an original film doing well is good for everybody. It's exactly what the world needs. Pixar needs some wins. Obviously, we had Elemental did well, and they need to get that core audience back of people trusting Pixar again. And the only way they can do that is time. So Hoppers might not do as well as maybe some of the other movies have done, but Hoppers 2 could do better. And there's that kind of thing of time and healing. And I think just putting out, they need to put out the movies that audiences families as well, start feeling more happy. There's been a lot of reports of some of the comments that have come out about Elio from, about them having to make big changes because Pixar have realized that their last few movies that they made were, what did he say? They're not spending hundreds of millions of dollars on therapy. they need to be profitable. They are a business, and they're not indie films. And I think they've had a bit of a slap round the face of going, you can make movies that are good, but you can't just, you're not making an indie film, and the mainstream audience wants something a little bit more family friendly. Babak says, do you think the unions will have a chance to get the Paramount deal? Do you think like stopped? No chance. The unions haven't got any control in any of that. They can shout as much as they want, but at the end of the day, if Warner Brothers go, no, it's happening and we're going to lay you off, the American law system doesn't really stop that. But also in general, no business is going to be able to continue to operate with the idea that they are eventually, like, we have to keep all these people on. Well, businesses fail. If you enforce rules like that, no business could be sustainable. Kelly says Comcast has announced there's no plan to expand Peacock into international markets, hinting at licensing only. Could Disney Plus host Peacock originals in select international markets? I mean, there's a potential that they could license them out. I think the thing is, though, it's more about the fact that Comcast already have brands of, for example, Sky, and that that's right across Europe. I think I don't know if it's in Australia, but they do already have markets in a number of different countries. So that they're probably looking at Peacock, for example, is not a very good brand name for a streaming service. It's not a good global streaming service because the name is meaningless to a world that doesn't know what NBC is. The whole problem with Peacock is it's based around NBC, and NBC is only a channel in the United States. And that whole Peacock that doesn't have any history anywhere. It doesn't mean anything. It's the same way, ABC and Paramount is not. I saw some Americans talking about the fact that they should name, Warner Brothers should change, not use Paramount or Warner Brothers. They should use CBS branding. And it's like, you guys have got no idea of what life's out of, like how CBS doesn't mean a single thing outside of the United States. Yes, it's a strong brand in the United States, no doubt about it. But to make a brand, it's like, I mean, I still think like Disney with Hulu. Hulu is a better brand name than Star. It's still meaningless because it hasn't had time to get into the consciousness of people. Kelly says Sky News in Australia is actually owned by News Corp. Yeah, well, that's the thing as well. Is I don't know if Sky News Australia, but I think they kind of, when they separated, they kind of kept control of it. But I don't know if there's if the Sky, like Sky One or Sky Atlantic or anything like that still exists. It's been like 20 years since I was last in Australia, and we didn't have streaming services back then. And next time I go to Australia, we probably won't be spending time watching television. Matt says, what would you like to make easier to what would you do to make it easier to find shows and movies on Disney Plus? I think you've got to come in from two angles. I think first off, just make search easy. Just make it much easier just to click search. Have maybe a microphone system, I don't know, something like that. I think the front page is slightly better, but it's not perfect. The algorithm is probably better for you of kind of keeping you up to date on new stuff. And like new things should be maybe on there a little bit more, or what you've previously, the question is again, depends on your history. So if you're someone that's rewatched, I don't know, Spider-Man, I don't know, even Spider-Man, so say Avengers Infinity War. So if you watch Infinity War every month and the system has worked out that you rewatch that movie all the time, then I think the front page should have that on your homepage, because you are much more likely to engage in it. Now, for me, I mean, I do want to watch Infinity. I want to watch a few of the movies before Doomsday, but there's no point Disney Plus showing to me an old movie or a movie I've already watched, because it's like, well, there's no point in that, because at that point it's like, Well, you've not seen it. Now, my Disney Plus is a little bit weird because sometimes I get to watch shows early, so therefore I'm not watching them within Disney Plus. Sometimes I will watch the digital version. So therefore, what happens then is I will watch most of the movies I will end up watching on the digital version. So therefore, when they come up onto Disney Plus, they sometimes then don't show me. They're kind of going, "Watch Badlands, watch Predator Badlands, watch Badlands. It's new, watch it." And I'm like, "Well, I have seen it. I watched it a couple of weeks ago. I don't want to watch on Disney Plus." So therefore, it keeps showing it to me, even though I know I've seen it. Disney Plus doesn't know I have. So when Disney Plus will be showing me like, "Here's Love Story," was like, well, I've already seen them. If it throws it off because on quite a few of the shows it will go in there, and I might have watched like the first couple of episodes on a screener for it, and so therefore I might like drop in, like for example on Love Story on like episode 5, and it really throws it off because it's going, well, why have you jumped straight to season? Why have you gone to episode 5? But nevertheless, that's my own little problem with it. But I think just more collections, more just. I think again, just trying to find stuff. That the other day I was looking for some stand-up stuff and tried watching a few, and it's kind of clunky just finding some of the things in there. Bobatronic says, do you think Disney will have more FX shows because of the fact that Paramount owns Showtime and HBO? I think they know that FX is a premium show maker, and yeah, you let them cook, let them do what they need to. Give them all they need to do is Dana just needs to just give them the money and says, "There's your budget for the year. Go make me something awesome." You're in, let the FX people go off and do their stuff, and she needs to do that with all of them and go like, "Here is your budget. Off you go." Whether or not she's like, right, okay, I would like this, and this. Come up with some idea. She might need to give him a little bit of it's like 20th Century Studios. Turn around and go, right, hey, okay, here you go, guys. You have got a budget of $1 billion this year. Make me movies. Now, if you spend $200 million making Avatar 5, great. That means then that you can't make 10 smaller movies. And I think that's the way I'd probably do it. Okay, so that's the end of the pre-done questions. So now we're going to come into the live chat for the rest of the show. If you have got any last-minute questions, feel free to put them in, because once I run out of questions, that will be the end of the show, because we're coming up to nearly an hour anyway. I'm just going to make sure I haven't missed any questions. Just going through here now. No, we did that one. Bear, School Spirits, did that one. Speaking of dongles, did that one. Oh, here we go. Miles says, what's your opinion on Maggie's The Bride bombing at the box office this weekend, putting an end to Warner Brothers' year-long streak of #1 debuts at the box office? Again, I think the trouble is, I think you need to look at every movie as its own thing. Why did the Bride bomb? I don't know. I'd be honest, I don't know even I've known any. I remember was reading about it, I think on Deadline today, but I don't even remember the trailer for it. I always find this weird. Like when I've not seen a trailer or heard about it, it's always a bit weird. But sometimes movies just suck and people don't want to go see them, or the advertising sucks, or it just doesn't appeal. And at the end of the day, you can have the best studio, but you are going to put out some stinkers every now and again, and that's just part of it. I don't really, Warner Brothers might have put out great movies the last run, great, but if the next movie is not that good, it will sink, and that's, we saw. Let's go back to, Spider-Man films. Sony just thought they could just keep churning out, and eventually, too many turds, and it didn't work. Kelly said there's definitely a path for Disney to pay off the debt of 20th Century. I think so, but also, it was like 5-6 years ago. They have sold. If you look at it, they sold off the Sky asset to Comcast. They sold off a load of game studios. They sold off some RSNs. They sold off some channels in Europe. They then have essentially outsourced Hotstar to another company. And they've also been able to, they've cut jobs, they've merged stuff together. how much is left of that initial 70 billion? How much is left from that? Because I think it was like 20 billion stuff just came back instantly from selling Sky. Carl says not everything lasts forever. Cinema is always cycle. Oh, things always go in cycles. Matt says I see 911 and Nashville got renewed. Do you think the shifting gears will get renewed? Maybe. It did. Hopefully, it did quite well. Why not? Hopefully, it does. Bowser says, do you think if Hoppers continues to do well at the box office, this could have a positive impact on the future of Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar original films with people more willing to go? We've given them a chance. 100%. This is what Disney needs to do. They need a winner after winner after winner after winner. Because that's what's going to build the confidence. When the families feel confident that their money is worthwhile, that it is good for the family, but that it is an escape and an event. All those boxes need to be ticked. And unfortunately, Pixar especially lost that during the pandemic for multiple reasons. Sending all the films straight to streaming, retrain. Now people are being retrained to going back to cinema to watch these films. Also, the quality is there. Toy Story and Inside Out and Moana 2 have reset the bar of like, okay, you're going to get a good experience. And I think that's what they needed to do. And it's going to take time. Mara says, will you do an article on Pixar films being teased by Pete Docker and the interview? Well, I did one yesterday on Monsters, Inc. The other two, the trouble is, I mean, we got a name. I was a little bit like, how do I do an article about, like, all we know is a name. And unfortunately, yeah, the Wall Street Journal, I'm not paying for the article. But there's the kind of thing of, if I've only got a name, it's very difficult sometimes to like, okay, so Pixar's making a musical. I'm just not that kind of writer where I can make a 300-400 words out of nothing. I need some sort of, I need to have an opinion on it, but also it's very hard if there's not much. There was a couple of things I did pick up on. I did, because I read this in the Deadline one of, they were talking about Coco 2 and like it hadn't been announced, and like when they announced this years ago, we knew Coco 2 was happening. So I don't know, if all I know is a name, it's a little bit like, what can I, if I don't know anything more than that, it's a bit difficult to kind of talk about it. Matt says, what do you think of the collector creator just being Predator Badlands stuff? So I did see this the other day when I was in the American. See, we don't get the creator collection stuff internationally. I think it's just in the US. It seems, again, it's more of a merchandise / advert for merch. It's a bit of a weird one. It feels like a bit of an experiment. A lot of this stuff is only happening in the US. It does feel very much now like Disney Plus US is running off at a different pace to how we are into, there's all this other stuff going on Disney Plus in America now, with Disney Plus perks, the live streams, the streams, these creator content, the verts. None of that exists on Disney Plus in the UK. So like sometimes I get messaging on this, it's like, okay, I think I'll log in and see it, because the international side of Disney Plus just hasn't really gone through any of these changes. It just feels like they are very much focused on just getting the American system. Just unfortunately, it just feels like it's just being filled up with. And again, I think this is the fact of, because we have the start of a Hulu content, they don't need to. Whereas in the US, they've just been filling up Disney Plus with all this fluff to try and make it look like they're kind of getting stuff ready. Bobatronic says, do you think Disney will get back into gaming? I think they will do when Josh DeMario, I think they've realized that he was very much into the idea of, he was the reason why Disney bought 10% of Epic and got into Fortnite. He's much younger than Bob, and I think he understands. I mean, he's only in his 50s, but he's probably got much more of an idea of gaming. He might be a gamer, I don't know. I think when you start getting younger CEOs coming in, they might understand gaming. I mean, I would definitely be along the lines of like, why are they not more heavy. Licensing stuff out was better than them try, because they just, I think as well as the executives just couldn't quite get their head around it. Gaming is going through the trouble is gaming is going through a massive shift right now. Sony and Microsoft are making huge changes to their platforms. Consoles are being delayed. People are getting laid off left, right, and center. They all went heavily into live streaming services or live game services. They've been flopping like left, right, and center. They're in a battle for engagement, going up against the likes of like Fortnite and Minecraft. Big AAA games aren't bringing in as much money as they used to. Subscription services like Games Pass have now had to go through drastic price rises. And the gaming industry is going through a massive overhaul right now. The next Xbox is going to be like a PC/Xbox, but it's going to probably be like 3 times the price. It's a specialist. Basically, it's just a PC. But then they're going to be competing with the new Stream machine. But then this new Steam machine is too expensive for the gen. I don't know. I mean, it's like I sold my Xbox and I sold my Nintendo because it got to the point of like, well, Nintendo, so everything's on the Sony on my PlayStation that I want. There are some games I'd like to play, but again, all these like live service stuff, it's just time sucks, and you've only got so much time. Kelly says, I know Hulu is adding more video podcasts where there's a non-exclusive. They're not affiliated with any shows. I can see more coming this way is to get people engaged on the platform of Disney. Yeah, well, I think they've all realized that video podcasts are a great source of engagement, great way of keeping people engaged in a show. The traditional making of content doesn't work in the same way anymore. So having a sit-down interview is essentially just an interview. You could you film it all, you do it all on the set, you do it all on your own time, and essentially they can have their own interview. And you look at it now, like, is it better for them to put out that podcast than that actress then appear on 25 different outlets talking about the same, being asked? Because I don't know. I think there's less questions going to, because no one cares anymore. If you got like the new actor coming out and she's talking to 150 different outlets about the new show or movie coming out, no one cares. You might notice I don't do a lot of interviews anymore. Sometimes I'll get the odd one come through and I'll do it, but I don't ask for any anymore. I've stopped asking because they were pointless. No one was watching them. No one was listening to them. No one was reading them, to the point where it's like, why am I wasting like so much time and money on this? It's like, and that was the big thing for me of spending. Sometimes I have spent sometimes hundreds of pounds going and doing an interview for a video that made like £4. Well, that's just not sustainable. So that's why I kind of just totally backed off from it, because it just wasn't worth the effort. Sometimes I'd do a video and it would take like half an hour to film, then I'd edit it, then I'd get it maybe transcribed to be put into and it was just, it just wasn't worth the effort. People just, you might get the odd one that would break out, and you can see the fact of, obviously we went through the pandemic, so everyone was at home doing it, and they've all kind of gone back but they're all doing things now like Hot Ones and like Lad Bible and stuff, because that's what gets the views. If they want to promote their new show, they've got to do the gimmicky stuff. Just sitting down and talking about a show anymore isn't the same way. So now the podcast, I think, is going to replace that in some ways, because now they're just doing these companion podcasts rather than having to send them out on all these shows and stuff. Miles says, one of the new Pixar films was originally planned as a Disney Plus series, but later moved to be in a feature film. Okay, cool. I'll have to have a look and see what that Oni Ghost market is. I'm going to make a note. See, there we go. Uno Ghost Market. Right, so I've put it on my to-do list. I literally have just put it on my to-do list. So I'll have a look at that one. Kelly says, I know Josh D'Amaro did an interview with ABC News regarding the Disney adventure. He mentioned that he briefly lived in Hong Kong, has an eye-opening experience for him and his family. Well, see, this is good. I believe they play a lot of tennis or something. And I think this is because there were some interesting comments I was reading on the Disney Cruise Line group about the Disney adventure, about maybe like things just aren't quite clicking in the same way that they have, like some of the images of some of the rooms, and the what normally happens when like a Disney of the online buzz about it. And it's that feeling of going, this is aimed at a different audience. This is not gonna, these aren't aimed at you're gonna get your Disney diehards that will want to go on it. Fantastic. I'm one of them. I've been, dropping seeds about, I do plan to go to Singapore and do the adventure. It's not going to be for a good year or so, maybe 2 years, maybe even be 3 years, because we've got other trips planned. But it's that thing of, I would like to go and do it, and I'm a big Disney fan, and I would love to go see Singapore, and I would like to, have a few days in the city and do that. And I think there's a lot of people that are similar to me that maybe like going off and doing the different, I want to, we're planning on going to Japan next year, and I'm going to have a few days of Disney there. I want to see more stuff. And I think, like, having visited Hong Kong Disneyland, there is a difference, and I think especially the American audience sometimes gets a little bit like, if it's not about them, they don't understand. Don't understand it, but also kind of don't get why Disney is spending money on it. And again, they're a global company. The Disney Adventure is there for the Asian market. They're not targeting it at, they are a little bit at the minute on socials because they want to get the Disney diehards that are interested in it. But once that ship has been running for a couple of months, they were probably hardly ever going to hear it mentioned on the US Disney blog. It will get a little bit shoved off to the side, a little bit like, how often do you see Disney promote Disneyland Hong Kong or Disney Shanghai or Disney Tokyo or even Disney Paris to you guys in America? Do you see any promotion for that? Here in the UK, they generally focus on Walt Disney World and Disneyland Paris. There's never any promotion for going to Japan or Hong Kong or Shanghai. Again, because it's just the market. The Disney Cruise Line, when they're advertising on TV here, it's all about the cruise ships that are leaving the UK in the summer. The ones, that we get a few months where they'll be over here. Those are the cruises that they're going for. They aren't trying to sell you cruise lines for the Caribbean or Alaska. They're trying to sell you the UK ones because, again, the marketing is based for the prime audience that they're aimed at. And I think that gets a little bit lost sometimes if not everything is, like Disney Plus operates differently in different countries because it has different appeals. Okay, so speaking of video podcasts, I know WWE rebranded their Raw recap episode to WWE. I guess they want to keep it separate, keep it available on multiple platforms. Yeah, I also think, like, from my point of view, like, if I saw a WWE Now show coming up on my feed, I might be like, oh, I'll check that out. Whereas if I see a Raw recap video, it's a bit like, well, I've watched Raw. I don't need to watch the recap. So that would make more sense. Mara says, regarding Elio, do you think the Pete Doctor has a point about we're making a movie, not $1 million of therapy? If so, explain how. Oh, I think he's 100% right. And I don't think he's necessarily, I think he's had some, he's had to learn the hard way, because I think when he originally was in charge of all this stuff and greenlit a lot of this, he was maybe a little bit naive to the business side. And he's definitely been whacked around the head a few times by Disney executives and people. Things like Soul and Turning Red were lovely films, but they didn't connect with the audience. They didn't connect. Turning Red was a bit better, I think, because it had a bit more of a kind of a connection. But like Onward, because Onward seems quite often gets like lost in the shuffle because it came out like the week before the pandemic. Everyone kind of goes, oh yeah, it felt flopped because the pandemic. It's like, yeah, but what didn't really like make a big dent when it dropped onto Disney Plus. We had like Onward, Turning Red, Soul, and Luca and Lightyear, all kind of just wishy-washy. They just weren't good enough. And they've realized that they need these movies to be much more general. They need everyone to be on board. And Disney, on a whole, I think, has kind of, they are trying to sit in the middle. They're trying to sit on the fence. They're trying to sell to everybody. And they have gone back to being much more safe. And that's where they want to sit, because going one side or the other just didn't really work. You're going to piss off everybody. You're going to get nowhere. So they're trying to piss off nobody. And while some people might pick at them for not picking a side, they did pick a side, and it backfired and cost them billions of dollars. They're not going to do that again. And I think Pete Docter as Doctor has worked out, maybe like through the hard way, that if he wants to keep his job and keep doing what he's doing, he has to appeal to everybody, or appeal to as bigger audience as he possibly can. And doing movies that are inspired by the stories of by the creators is not, I don't think that's a bad thing. It needs to be, every story has to have some kind of genesis, some kind of idea behind it, and some kind of concept, but it has to go through a thing of more people have to be able to appeal to it on a global level. And that's the key thing as well, is sometimes of making it too US focused, and that doesn't necessarily, because I think the problem, for example, like Soul, was that it didn't, I mean, he just didn't, the animals were quite cute, but how a jazz singer in New York just, or in a city, just didn't, it's like, are kids really going to be interested in that character? I don't know. And obviously Turning Red, I thought was lovely. I thought that was a lovely film. And I really enjoyed Luca. I thought Luca was great. But they weren't, we're at a time when those movies just were okay. And because they were on Disney Plus, they were able to have a bit of a boost. And then we've seen the side effects to that. Because how it's much harder to be in the middle when there's an authoritarian government running the US and general public disapproves of people in charge. Yeah, 100%. But I also think all these companies are just trying to avoid that problem. Just stay under the radar, just hide. Because, yeah, and I think that goes, but also I think generally globally, there has been a shift. And I think that they have to recognize that, people, as Michael Jordan always said, Republicans wear sneakers too. And businesses have to, it always used to be businesses didn't get involved in politics. I don't, it's that kind of thing of, if you're trying to sell something to somebody, you don't need to know what they believe, what their beliefs are, anything. It's like, do you want to, like, I'm selling you this can. I don't really need to know anything about you. Just, please give me the money. That's basically, and I think that is, it goes both ways, and it goes 100% both ways. And I think that's kind of the way to do it. Because I'd very much try to stay neutral, because it's like, this is not the place for it. I mean, sometimes political stuff does come in, but I do try and stay in the middle, because it's like anyone's political. You can go too much to the left, you can go too much to the right. You can be, and most people, I think, are somewhere in the middle. There's a scale. You might agree with one politician on one topic, but you might not. But on the next topic, they might be this way. And I think most people sway. And there's a line, and I think that Disney kind of had to work out that it's not just one or the other. You've kind of got to balance it, and I think Disney and Pixar films have got to find that balance. You can push a little bit. I mean, I think generally, like Hoppers with an environmental storyline, kind of goes one way, but it depends how far. Do they go all the way over or not? I think generally, like climate change and stuff, most people, and globally, don't. It's probably quite safe in the middle. Depends how far they push it. And I think that's it. I think that's kind of the thing for that. AB Babatronic says, do you think Disney will put ABC News Live on Disney Plus outside the US? Nope. So the reason for that is I think, again, political stuff, but also I hate to break it to Americans, the rest of the world really doesn't care as much about your politics as you do. We don't. I mean, I watch too much of it, but and because it does directly affect me, and that's often the case. But also, they would have to apply. If you're broadcasting news here in the UK on a streaming service, you're probably then going to have to comply with our rules of giving, like our TV here, every political party has to have like equal time quite often. And so if you'll see an interview, and they'll often have people from different parties, and I think that would be where the problem would be. And again, I think there's just the interest in does some of the stuff, and ABC News would have to, if you're going to make a news channel on Disney Plus and make it global, you have to turn it more into like a CNN kind of international audience. You have to appeal. You can't just keep going over political stuff in the US, because people in Australia and Singapore and Japan and South Africa and Europe and Brazil aren't going to care about that in the same way. And that's not, regardless of who's doing it or whatever, whoever's in charge. In the same way, if you're in America and you were just watching BBC News all the time, you wouldn't be interested in all of our political stuff. And that, again, doesn't matter which side you're on at that point. It's just the more like political side of things. Kelly says, do you feel Pete Docter could have used better words in the interview? But I know he answered to someone above him, like Bob Iger. For years, Iger said the final say. Yeah, and I think he could have explained it better. But also, I think he had to. I think they're being quite like, look, we're going to get whatever happened with Elio. The public, anyone that's kind of, we can read the lines. We can see what happened with it. They drastically rewrote the thing and basically removed the entire storyline of Elio coming out. The whole dealing with that whole, they removed it, and because they wanted. And the trouble is that movie lost its soul. It wasn't what it was set out to be, and it was very meh. Probably would have been better. The trouble is, the catch-22. What would have been worse for Disney? Canceling the project or doing what they did to it? Probably doing what they did to it. It's like, oh, it came out, and it's like, oh, okay, we got away with it. Move on. Whereas if they cancelled it, they'd have this big thing just hanging over them that people would keep using as a thing for it. I don't know. Very difficult. Matt says, what are your future of Disney Doctor Who on Disney Plus? It's dead. Dead as a dodo. It ain't happening. They have dropped that like the lead balloon. Again, it doesn't fit. The new Doctor Who didn't fit with the way the world had changed, and yeah, it just, and Disney just went, oof. It's a shame, because this new the new series, The War Between the Land and the Sea, because it aired on this BBC here in the UK over Christmas. The best Doctor Who thing they've put out in years. It was really good. So I'm really hoping it drops onto Disney Plus and the rest of the world soon. But personally, I mean, it's very, like, in terms of like political side of it, it was much more on like eco-friendly and global like pollution. Really, really great show. Really great show. No, we did that one. Bergman is also there, but I think the trouble is he's now at second place. Yeah, we did that one. Babatron says, do you think Disney Plus give a 2 lives to Disney movies that will flop? I mean, they can go on to do quite well, but they're a very kind of hit and miss. Decision to do more Searchlight in 20th Century Studios. I definitely think they should do. 100%. But saying that, I'll be honest, I have been a little bit disappointed with some of the recent movies from them. Ella McKay in the Blink of an Eye, the Complete Unknown, the Springfield one. They have been like, was it Odessa? There's been some real like meh. I'm really looking forward to watching Mick and Alice. That's definitely what I am I'm looking forward to that movie. That's that right up my street. Kelly says in 2025, TKO panned a little bit far to the right and it backfired to some extent. It's weird with that because, like, from a wrestling fan, I don't really think like from what I was watching, I didn't really feel like anything much had changed. If you took away the social media, if you just watched the show, it was just the same thing it always has done, and it generally always shifts, I think, a little bit more to one side anyway. But yeah, I think the biggest problem for WWE is more about the fact of the buzz over the Bloodline and the Cody Rhodes thing kind of fell off, and they didn't have anything strong to go up against it. But also, I think the ticket prices and it's not doing house shows and stuff. I think the prices are probably what's doing them more harm than anything else right now. Elio's story overhaul. Do you think the short-term gain over long-term stability? Yet it was nominated. I mean, it can be nominated for as much stuff as it wants. It didn't win, and it won't win. It was. I think it was the best thing they could do with what they had. They made the best of a bad situation. Babatron says, did you get WWE 2K26 and what is your opinion on the ringside pass? Yes, I have got it. I'm currently running my way through the CM Punk storyline. So earlier today I was doing the triple threat match from WrestleMania 41, and it's so damn annoying because I kept losing, and so I just decided in the end I'm going to go for the win, and then I'll go back later and try and unlock everything. I had the same thing with the match with The Rock. It was annoying me because I had, you had to do this one move, and it's like kept being beaten. I'm like, just let me. It's the one thing with the campaigns of do this, do that, and it's so annoying when you do everything on the entire list but one thing, and then you don't get the reward, and it's just annoying. As far as the ringside pass, I'll be honest, I am not thrilled with it. So my bugbear with the ring pass is the fact of I've got to wait or get enough credit to then get some of the characters, because that's the only thing I'm really interested in. I want the wrestlers, all the attires and all the creation stuff. Couldn't give a hoot. I just basically recreate Raw and SmackDown and NXT and the pay-per-views, and I've been doing that since the days of WrestleMania Challenge on the NES. I don't really play any of the other. I don't play the island. I don't want to play the faction stuff. I'm not interested in any of My Rise. I don't want any of that. I don't want that. That's not what I play the game for. So I'm glad with the new ringside pass that so with that, what I can do then is just whatever I'm playing, I'm just getting points and I can spend it on what I want. So I do I think it's a better way of doing it, but I'd much rather just get a pack and I unlock everyone. Personally as well, I'd love them to go, right, can you turn the option off to turn off all this creator stuff of all these weird, wacky characters in my list of wrestlers, because I've got no interest in playing through and unlocking random character that they've created for the game. I'm never going to use it. And also another thing that really annoys me is all the different attires, why they all have to be separate characters. Why can't we just go into, you pick Undertaker and then you get a choice of which costume you want? I don't need to go through 55 different versions of John Cena. That's me. Right, final question. Matt says, do you think 20th Century should do some more animation? Yes, but I think they should do different to. I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with them putting out cheaper movies like the Diary of the Wimpy Kid things, Ice Age. I think that's fine. But maybe more Badlands stuff, or no more like the Predator thing. Let them kind of try some different stuff out. Maybe let them do the anime. Let them try doing some weird stuff with it. Right. On that note, guys, just want to say a big thank you to everyone for joining us in this live stream. Big thank you for Derek for your super chat. Big thank you to everyone for joining in here. So Matt, Bubba Trolling, Miles, Kalid, Noxwave. Big thank you to all of you. I'm making sure I've not missed any of you. I think that's everyone. Matt, Miles, I think that's all of you guys. So Basil. So again, I'll be back next week, same time, same place. And look out for new videos going up throughout the week. So there'll probably be a video with Monsters, Inc. I'm thinking the Inside Out ESPN thing will probably be something in there. But yeah, and whatever happens during the week. So on that note, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for your continued support. And I shall see you guys soon. Laters. Tally ho. Toodaloo.